Good evening, everybody. This is Lindy. We're going to continue that story with World Savings and Loan, but I want to give you a little update and some information about that time frame in our lives. I found it very exciting. At that time, Steve Jobs was creating Apple and Bill Gates was doing Microsoft. There were all kinds of creations in the air. I mean, it was such a wonderful, wonderful time to be alive, to be working, to be learning about computers. Mind you, I'm not a computer expert, never was then, but I understood what it took to write a program. If you understand that and you understand how to read it, you can figure out how to get the information out. So this was a very creative time. It was explosive. All kinds of things were happening. We had a separate building for our mainframe. It took a whole floor. Huge mainframe after main. It was just crazy. And they put special insulation, fire insulation, into the ceilings. However, I went there once and passed out because I had a reaction to the insulation and stopped breathing. So I didn't make many visits. In other words, I made one. I met them outside the department. During this time frame as well, I was a bull in a china shop. I had done something that degreed people had not been able to do. I was uneducated as far as corporate was concerned because I didn't have a degree. And I was literally a bull in a china shop. I mean, knocking over all kinds of policies, knocking over all kinds of things. And it was interesting, guys. I truly did not fit the mold. They truly did not know what to do with me, but they sure liked what I was doing. So, the only female executive we had asked me to come to her office and have a chat. I'm thinking, what can I lose? She made it to the big time, so maybe she can help me because I knew I wasn't fitting in. And she sat me down and she said, look, you need to learn how to walk, to talk, and to fit into the corporate world. If you want to move up, you need to figure out how to do this. And I would like to suggest that you take a modeling course. They'll teach you makeup, they'll teach you dressing, they'll teach you how to walk, and they'll also teach you how to talk. Well, it sounded good to me. It was quite expensive at that time. I signed up for one, and I took an 8-month class in modeling. And I've shown you a few of the pictures. Those were in my portfolio. I had no intention of modeling, but they did teach me how to speak properly in a lower tone, I assume. I wasn't a bull in a china shop anymore. I came out, I learned how to dress properly, how to take the same dress and add a scarf or a different scarf, how to do all kinds of things, and how to walk properly. So it was an experience. I did fit in a lot better after that. I was still a tiny bull, okay, a baby bull, still knocking over policies or procedures or whatever it was. Because, again, I had not gone to college, so I didn't fit the mold. And I was reminded that a lot. However, the chief financial officer and the controller supported me in everything I did. They promoted me. The controller who I'd worked for was also a teacher at night at Stanford 2 nights a week teaching accounting. And he mentored me a lot. And he presented me in a way that I looked good to everyone. Well, I did a good job, okay? So all of this was happening all together, all at once. All these things were going on. And thank goodness my son was living with my husband because I would have never seen him during this 2 or 3 year period. As well as I was dating someone. So I'm dating someone. We're going hot air ballooning in Napa. We're going to the French Laundry in Sonoma. or wherever that was. I can't even remember. It's in the Napa Valley area, Solana Valley area. Um, we were flying to Seattle, look at that pier up there. So that was a nice relationship. And I had to make time for him. And I could only see him maybe once or twice a month. That was it. He didn't have time. He was a big real estate guy. I didn't have time. So we got together when we could. So that was a very busy, busy time. And when I had first come to California and I'd first started working at World, I had met this girl. We'd become friends, and we decided to meet at the Hilton bar, at the Hilton Hotel at the Oakland Airport. Well, guess what? The night we met and went there, the Oakland Raiders were there. And they were all celebrating a win of some kind. Who knows? I'm not into sports at all. I do remember the largest human being I've ever met in my life was Matuzak. And don't ask me how to spell his name because I don't know. I met pretty much all the players, had a few drinks, and that was it. But I do remember Matuzak because he was huge. He was huge. Scared me half to death. Nicest man you ever want to meet. So I had a lot of excitement at this time. Then the next year things started settling down. I broke up with my boyfriend the next year, and the reason was my husband died. And when my husband, well, ex-husband, but since I was only married once, he's still my husband, or was. My husband died, and my son immediately came to live with me. So we have a new type of lifestyle, which is I can't commit as much to work as I did. I have to have time for my son. And you're talking about a 14-year-old who's just lost his father, who's very angry. And he's going to a new school. So I proceeded to buy a house in an area I thought would be good for him, give him a home, etc., etc., etc. So we had a difficult adjustment because of the death of his father. He was pretty devastated. And we adjusted to that. At the same time, World continued to expand. We built a brand new building on 1901 Harrison Street across from Merritt Lake. Beautiful building, brand new. And they had a new building for the computers. We moved into the new building, and before I had an office, now I had a closed-off cubicle. Didn't bother me. An open floor setting. By now I have 3 supervisors and 16 clerks, a total of 19 employees, which was the largest department at World at the time, in headquarters. And we adjusted to the new building, and of course things didn't change. We now, everybody has a monitor, and they can input everything, and the checks get printed. You don't have to manually type a check. We started acquiring many other branches, small branches or banks, and within a few years we were at 200. And then at the end, when I left in a 10-year period, I believe we were at 389 branches. I did not increase my staff during that time, but we went through a lot during that time. And when I set up my department, I have to talk about this too, because I've always been a clerk and I've had so many bad bosses that I was determined my employees would not go through what I went through. So I set up new rules which really disturbed management, but they adjusted very quickly. The number one rule was no one spoke to my employees in any manner other than with kindness or to ask a question. They were not to raise their voices. They were not to do anything of the sort. I took full responsibility of my department, whether it was good or bad. If they wanted to yell at somebody, they could yell at me. They were not to yell at my employees, because they used to come into the department before I took over, and they would yell at the employees. These are executives yelling at these clerks who are just following orders. So I set that rule in, and trust me, everybody respected it, because if they didn't, I was out on that floor standing in front of them saying, "What are you doing talking to my employee? You want to talk, you talk to me." So I took full responsibility of all my employees. They were never, ever to be mistreated of any kind. If they had problems, they would come to me, I would review them, we would work it out. I had very little turnover. In fact, one supervisor stayed with me the whole time I was there. He was an employee when I started, and he was an employee when I left in that department. So, just to give you an idea of what was going on at that time. We're still talking about this, but again, here I am at almost 10 minutes. I'm going to end this video again, and we're going to have a third, maybe a fourth video about World Savings and Loan. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button. Thank you for subscribing. I'll see you next time. Camo.